Chapter 3. Poe dropped off of light speed above the planet Ephemera and marveled. BB-8, secured behind him, beeped and hummed. "It is beautiful," Poe agreed. BB-8 asked a question. "No, I better never been here," Poe answered. In fact, he couldn't recall visiting any gas worlds that weren't already giants. He half remembered some lesson from the academy, now gone vague, about required size and distance from any system's primary sun for a gas planet to form. But Ephemera didn't quite fit the description. It was an anomaly, something in part occurring naturally, but also something aggressively engineered by its inhabitants. If what he had heard was accurate, the droid beeped and Poe replied, "It was once a mining place like Bespin. You know Bespin, right? But here they mined the Tabana gas to extinction, and after it was all gone, the Empire abandoned it to colonies, and most of the settlers ran with them. Good riddance, from what I hear. It left the planet back in the hands of its original inhabitants and a few holdouts who weren't there just to cash in, but had grown to love the place. And then, surprised, they discovered Tusa." BB-8 whirled loudly, curious. "Tusa is the residue from the mine runoff. Turns out Tusa has medicinal properties, so a new industry was born. Maybe it wasn't as lucrative as the Empire strip mining, but it was a heck of a lot kinder to the planet's flora and fauna." BB-8 whirred again, and Poe laughed. "You're right," he said. "The Empire has never been kind, but the planet is a resort destination now. The capital is called Wish. What a name, right? It used to be Outpost 665 or something boring like that, but now..." He waved his hands. "Wish. It's one of the largest spots in the galaxy. All kinds of mineral baths and healing treatments and some kind of legendary oxide therapy that's supposed to make you look younger." The old droid sounded distressed. "You play pretty good yourself, my friend, but we're not here to get pampered. We're here to find Maz Quintana, remember?" Maz Quintana had sent him Ephemera's coordinates. She had also told him of the planet's history. "A bit remote," she had said. "Way off of any useful trade routes, but there's plenty of rest and relaxation to be found if you like drifting in a cloud, and the population is a hoot." And then she cackled and cut off the communications with a "see you soon." So here he was, maneuvering his way through a gaseous sea of pale pinks and greens and blues to a landing pad that seemed no more substantial than the heavy atmosphere through which his starfighter flew. A transmission came in, and BB-8 opened the channel without Poe having to ask. "Welcome to Ephemera Airspace," came a strange wispy voice, almost like the soft exhale of a child. "Please identify yourself so we can grant you landing clearance." "This is..." Poe hesitated. He was known to the First Order, known and despised. He didn't think the First Order was lurking on this anomalous Outer Rim resort world, but he had been wrong about that kind of thing before, and it paid to be cautious, even when he was flying shit that no one would mistake for an X-Wing. He didn't get a chance to answer before another voice replaced the first one. This one not wispy or soft at all. "Poe, is that you?" This voice was crankily familiar. There was muffled protest on the other end, and then, "Oh, give me that mic, dear. I can take it from here." Poe heard sounds struggle. "I didn't hire you to..." More struggle, then a heavy thump. Poe waited a moment before asking, "Maz? What? It's of course it's me, you fool. Who else would have asked you to this backwater? Is everything alright? What? Yes, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Sounds like you're having problems. Bah, just some people getting a little possessive with the equipment. Nothing to concern yourself with. I've handled it. Now hurry up. I haven't all day. Poe's brow creased. I'd be happy to land, but I don't see anything that looks like it'll hold the ship up. Am I in the right place? Silence, and then, oh, you're right. Isn't that funny? Something like a security manager. The locals assured me. But really, I think they're just partial to the undulation. The undulation? You'll see. Everything here sways a bit. Now let me... He could hear her shuffling some things around and decided click of something heavy engaging. And just like that, the thing that born the only suggestion of a landing pad gathered appeared to solidify until it looked like a normal place to put a ship down. What in the... Poe mumbled. It's perfectly safe, damn. Now you're going to land or not? I thought you were on urgent resistance business. Poe shook his head. No use arguing with Moss when she was right. Wink, wink. Whenever it had been before, the landing pad was now the real deal. Copy, he said. Coming in now. Good. See you soon. Oh, are you hungry? Have you eaten? I should have brought food out, shouldn't I? I'll have to ask him. Prepare something special unless you don't have time for a psychedelic experience, do you, Damon? He chuckled in disbelief. Not today, Mouse. Like you said, urgent business. Of course. Okay then. Ta. And with that, the transmission ended. Maz Quintana was a legend. No one could deny that. Rumors ran rampant. Any place pilots gathered about wild nights spent back at Maz's cattle on Takadana or some fortuitous run-ins with the pirate queen that made everyone a bit wealthier, but she was hard to pin down, harder still to understand. She always seemed to know who was doing what, even in the most remote corners of the galaxy, and she was an uncanny judge of character. Poe had no idea how she did it, or how vast her network was, but it was impressive. Now he hoped that she would muster her impressive powers to help the resistance regroup and find its footing. I'm not helping you with anything, Ma said, adjusting her spectacles to get a better look at Poe's astonished face. If you recall, last time I stuck my neck out for the resistance, the First Order destroyed my castle. Do you know how much I loved that castle? It was a great castle, Poe admitted. The best. Do you know how long I had it? 1,000 years? She paused, giving Poe a suspicious look. He grinned playfully. Longer than you've been around, fly boy. That's for sure. So don't sniff at me like I'm being unreasonable. She dipped her hand in the gelatinous goop that filled the bowl next to her and brought back a handful of something pink and smooth and that smelled distinctively of sulfur. She leaned out of her recliner, offering some to Poe. You want? No, I'm fine. They were both sitting on a long, sinuous loungers, in one of which is ubiquitous day spas. Poe was still in his uniform, small mercy, but Maz was wrapped in a thick, fluffy white towel. A second white towel wrapped tightly around her head. Her bare feet soaked in a mix of muddy chemicals Poe couldn't identify, and willowy attendants fluttered in and out of the room, proffering teas and colonics and other concoctions Poe politely refused. Maz was now smearing the sulfur-scented goop over Poe on her broad cheeks and humming merrily. What is that stuff? He asked, sniffing. It smells terrible. The sulfur odor had been replaced with an ammonia one. Feline poo from some species that's lived here so long, it's practically native to the planet. Imagine a planet with no solid ground but plenty of cats. The story is the founder of Ephemera was a Rockathar philosopher. He domesticated the species because he thought them of advanced intelligence, or maybe they domesticated him. I forget. Anyway, later on, he found that their excrement had healing properties. High concentrations of tabana gas naturally processed into tusa. She laughed again. Does wonders for the skin. That's great, Maz, Poe said, thinking it was not great at all. But can we get to the topic back at hand? The resistance needs your help. Yes, you told me. But you didn't seem to hear me, he thought. He needed to get through here. And he decided brutal honesty was his best bet. We need a place to hide and regroup. It needs to be outside of Piranha First Order ice, but able to handle our needs for housing, supplies, communications. Didn't you just say there were only a handful of you left on a single ship? What needs can you have? Poe bristled at her callousness. Maybe she heard him, and she didn't care. He hadn't expected that. There will be more, he said hastily. We got people all over the galaxy, and we're making new allies all the time. We were hoping you could provide shelter. And more than that, leadership. Leia can't do it alone. We need you to help lead the resistance. Lead the resistance? I thought that was your job. Poe frowned, feeling unsettled. Expecting me to do your job for you? She grumbled, now dutifully applying the cream to her neck. You're the commander of the room, or has that changed? Nothing's changed, Poe said automatically, but it was a lie. Wasn't it? After the Radis, everything had changed. Maz finished selecting her throat and sat back in her chairs, eyes closed. The last attendant had left a steaming pot of tea on the side table, and Maz blindly reached a hand out, found her cup, and lifted it to her lips to take a sip. She set the teacup down. Poe waited patiently for her to speak, but after a moment he could hear light snoring. Had she fallen asleep? Poe stood up, exasperated. This is a waste of time. I should go. No! Her hand closed around his wrist like a vise. All the whimsy fled from her voice, as if it had never been there. She cocked one eye open, fixing it on him. He froze. Listen closely to me, Poe Dameron, she said. You see me like this, and you think me a fool. Good for me, because when an enemy perceives you as foolish or weak, that is when they are most vulnerable in their arrogance. That is when you strike. She twisted her hand, pulling hard, and his feet flew out from under him. He went down on his back hard enough that a bellowing breath escaped from his lungs, and a pain radiated from his tailbone. Maz was up off of her recliner and standing on his chest in seconds. Her eyes, surrounded by the sulfur skin treatment, were centimeters from his own. She narrowed her gaze, taking him in. Judging, I see arrogance in you, and that is what gets you in trouble. Causes pain. He flushed, still thinking of Radis. I learned my lesson, he spit through gritted teeth. Have you? I pulled Class back, resting his head on the floor. He thought about lying, or at least not telling Maz any more than necessary, but she looked at him like she could see right through him. She already knew the ugly truth. You asked me if I was still a leader, he started, eyes focused on the ceiling. The truth is that I don't know. I made some mistakes. Mistakes? Maz's tone was scalpel sharp. I led a mutiny, he confessed. He hadn't meant to tell her, but there it was. And now that he'd begun, he wanted her to know everything. I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew was that we were running when we should have been fighting. I had to do something. Did you have to do something? He blinked, taken off guard. A moment ago, when he had wanted to defend himself, to make her see reason or at least understand his reasoning. But suddenly, all that fight was gone, and reality hit him like a punch to the gut. No, he admitted. I'm a soldier, and she was my commanding officer. All I had to do was trust. He exhaled, instinctively wanting to sink farther into the floor, to hide from his own dishonor. He looked at her, eyes pleading for not sympathy, not even understanding, but something else, a second chance. Moz made a humming sound. She leaned her head away from him and sat back. She didn't get off his chest, but at least there was some distance between their faces. Oh, now what, Poe Dameron? What? Let's say you're right. Your actions, your arrogance, got many people killed. Led the resistance to where they are now. Broken, on the run, desperate and begging for help. He flinched, opened his mouth to protest her words. But what was to say besides, I fixed it? How will you do that? She asked. You can't bring the dead back. Whoa. Gotta repair that. You can't single-handedly rebuild the resistance, although, she snorted, sounding amused. If anyone was going to try, it would be you. I can bring down the First Order. Alone? If you had to. Now that's more like it. Sit. Good. Now that's more like it. She shook her head. Arrogant, still. She rose up on her knees, leaning over him. You know who else is arrogant? The First Order. The First Order is evil. Ma stared at him, his lips pursed. She fine-tuned her spectacles, her eyes growing larger behind the magnifying glass. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost reverent. I've seen evil in many forms, Dameron. The First Order is no worse than the Sith, or the Empire, or countless others who would use the dark side. As always, they must be countered with the light. But she climbed off his chest and onto the chaise lounge. She removed her glasses and leaned back, covering her eyes with a mask of something slightly furry that had been soaking in the pale blue liquid on the side table. I have my own way of fighting. Not everything's about armadas and starfighters, you know. Poe sat up, rubbing his lower back. He stared at Moz, thinking of how easy it was for her to dismiss him, to not care about the fate of his friends and the people he loved. To her, they were nothing. Is that what happened when you lived 1,000 years? She grunted, as if she could read his thoughts. You think I'm callous, but I'm not. You'll be fine without me. I'm sure hope you're right, lady, he said, unable to keep the bitterness from his voice. Because if you're not, me and mine are going to die. And he could sit without for 1,000 more years for all I care. His confession had let him scrapped raw, feeling exposed with no closure to find to close the wound. And now he had failed again by not convincing Moz to join him. It was all he could do to get us to his feet. Slightly, he gathered his steams and left. If he had bothered to look back, he might have seen Maz Kanata lifting the corner of her mask and stared intently in his direction, a smile leaking from her lips. Poe sat in the cockpit of his borrowed starfighter, primed for takeoff. He asked for clearance to depart twice now. You need to turn the wispy voice on the other side. The communications link had denied him, claiming the airspace was occupied and he needed to stand by. He suspected it was a ruse, but he wasn't about to go charging blindly into the stew-thick atmosphere without clearance. Exasperated, he flipped the transmission switch one more time and asked for clearance to fly. "In negative, pilot," said the breathy voice a third time. "You have company." Poe looked up through the clear canopy of the pocket and saw nothing. But then what he could see in this atmosphere was like living in a pastel cloud. A sudden tap at the viewport to his left, and his heart was in his throat. He was fumbling at his belt for a blaster before he realized what he was doing. Big eyes peered at him, and he exhaled slowly, forcing himself to breathe so his heart would stop racing. "Open up," Ma said, tapping on the transparent steel again. Against his better judgment, Poe released the airlock, and the cockpit parted between them. "There's something I meant to tell you before you ran off like that," Ma said, leaning in. "But first, where did you get this ship?" "It's a relic. It's a loaner. I told you we're down to scrap metal. Everything else is destroyed. Now what do you want?" Maz looked around unperturbed, examining the display console. It's a relic, but it's also a collectible. When you're done with it, come see me. I might buy it." He thought to explain that he had to return it to a very particular hut, but decided it wasn't worth it. "Maz, what do you want? I got to go." He waved his protests away. We've long suspected the First Order had been taking children and disappearing people on the margins of the galaxy. But things are escalating now. Arresting people on phony, trumped-up charges. Small crimes that they've blown up into capital offenses, or charges simply fabricated out of nothing. People going missing in the dead of night. Their families having no idea what happened to them. Nighttime raids, or picked up off the street saying, Maz made a gesture, spreading her fingers wide. Vanished. And people most likely to disappear? People with ties to the old rebellion. And interestingly enough, we are seeing it with some old Imperials as well. Those who have been outspoken about their distaste for the First Order, but also those who remain neutral. Anyone who might pose a threat, now or down the line. Poe frowned. It was disturbing, but it didn't surprise him. The First Order thrived on abusing power. Do you think that's what's happening to delay its allies? Ma, they're not answering because they can't? They've been arrested? Ma shrugged. Maybe, possibly, but the First Order used to do it in secret. Now they don't bother. They snatch people off the streets, and they don't even pretend whatever planet they've infiltrated hold a sham trial. Just death or labor camps. Labor camps? Oh no, the First Order's Nazi Germany 2.0. Someone has to build all those new fancy ships, eh? Poe chewed the side of his cheek, thoughtful. Thanks, Maz. Leia will want to know about this. Yes, I thought she might. Rumor has it there's a list somewhere of all the people they've taken. A big list. No one's seen it, but I've got people chasing it down. I hear something definitive, I'll call you. Poe nodded. You do that. You sure you don't want to sell this ship? Not mine to sell. A shame. He started to lower the cockpit transparency when Maz called his name. Poe! He turned. Be the light, Poe. And that's the end of this chapter 3. Make sure you follow the Resistance Reborn series by subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell icon. I apologize for this intermissions. I had to do something for my stepmom, and I had to repair a torn page. I did on accident. But until I read again, may the force be with you always.